Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to GEF 2021, hosted by Yonsei University and Pan Center. Today I have to wear the face masks, so sometimes my articulation is not clear, so I ask your deep understanding. Today's topic is the creative solutions for a sustainable society. This session consists of two parts. The first one is my speech on this topic, and the second one is a panel talks. So we already invited three legendary figures from all over the world. So I will introduce each by each. The Kevin Suonopol from New York. So thank you for joining this session, even it's late at night in New York time, local time. And Burley Jamie from Philippines. And then last is Sapan Kwadir. Now he's here from South Korea. I'm pretty sure they will share their precious information and their valuable experience to you today. Okay? So the terminology of creative solution is well known among advertising industry, but I don't think the audience here is accustomed to this word, so they need to be briefed about this. But I think in the end of this presentation, you will surely come to know what creative solution means. Actually, the word creative solution sounds fancy and sexy. That's right. But on the other hand, sustainability sounds quite boring. That's also true. But these two words combined together, it creates the amazing chemical reaction of making the creative solutions for a world a better place to live. I can say it's kind of magic. So today I want to tell you about this magic. I want to start with two stereotyped images about advertising people. The first one is this. Since before, the creative people in the advertising industry have been thought of as the spearhead of capitalism. Yes, that's true. Because they helped the capitalists a lot to get more money for a long time. Yes, that's true. But that's the capitalism. The principle of capitalism is to get money as much as you can and use it to the society in a proper way, in a valuable way. The valuable way, that's the point today's the advertising people are concerning. And there's another images about advertising people is this. Yes, they are party animals. They love parties. They enjoy social gatherings. But in the middle of it, they always try to find some ideas and tips, even from the silly talks. So I can say like this, the advertising people have well-functioning antenna inside. And also, they are the most curious animals in the world. So my speech starts with this question. Why do such advertising people suddenly jumping into making creative solutions for a sustainable society? Why? I think this would be one of the answers that they have sheer passion inside for changing the world with their own ideas. So I think finding a solution starts with identifying the problems. So what do you think? What kind of world is it now? We can answer to that question from previous years, the experience. No one predicted that a disaster like COVID-19 come to us. So far, hunger, disease, and war have existed for a long time and tortured people a lot. Now, in addition to those disasters, now we are experiencing more diverse and complex disasters such as climate changes, nuclear weapon threats, supervirus, gender and education inequality, and etc. The point is that those kind of problems we face now are serious and complicated, but we don't have any effective solutions to them. That means now it's the time has come for creative solution. The door opens wide to the creative people to use their talents for good cause. The existing formula of solution do not work anymore. It has been completely obsolete. So now is the time of shift from simply helping to invent creative solution. My definition of creative solution is that it should be timely and optimized. Otherwise, it cannot solve any problem, any complicated problem now we are facing. In our world, we have to find an agile solution. Advertising people, the most curious animals, were suitable for this task, I think. They are the people who have analyzed the problems and came up with a solution in a very agile way, 24 hours and 7 days. So I want to highlight it in one sentence. Use your creativity to help. I found and picked up this phrase in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now it's time to introduce the influencers that have played a great role in shaping this new ecosystem. The first is the major international creativity show festival. We advertising people recognize one show in New York and Cannes Lions and DNA in London as the top 3 creative festivals that fuel global creatives. The unique and practical ideas presented and awarded annually here are the benchmarks for worldwide marketing. In particular, over past 10 years, the festival has made a great role in promoting the agenda of sustainability. Among those many great solutions, today I want to share the case of smart communication in the Philippines. This project, led by today's second panel, Merle Jamie. So let's see how children without smart devices benefited from smart education.
For Philippine public schools, textbooks have become a burden.
Sa laki na sa dami ng mga libro, nadi-deform tuloy physically ang mga bata.
Pagdating sa school, pagod na sila, kumain nila, hindi na nag-work.
But while developed countries have solved this problem through tablets and e-readers, for these families, even the cheapest models cost more than their whole monthly income. In fact, the only gadgets most of them own are old analog mobile phones used mainly for texting. Then we realized, what if we could use these millions of old phones to create a new brand of textbook? Smart, the country's largest telecom, took its mission to make text light and easy further than ever, as we introduced Smart Textbooks.
Over 6 months, we collaborated with respected textbook publishers to condense official school texts, from in-class lesson guides to homework exercises, into 160-character text messages.
Smart then programmed these texts into the inboxes of thousands of inactive surplus SIM cards, which were then repackaged into new smart textbooks. We launched them in partner schools that needed it most, where the simple and in fact low-tech solution made a profound sustainable impact. It turned even the oldest phones into a new kind of e-reader, and old SIM cards into a new brand of textbook. So less effort was spent carrying and storing books, and far more effort learning from them.
Dominic at 4 and 5!
with petitions and pledges from more schools and education sector members, Smart Textbooks is going even further. With plans already underway for more subjects and grade levels, kits so schools themselves can reproduce smart textbooks for free, and best of all, a rollout across the entire Philippines.
Well, we always like to be at the cutting edge of an innovation, particularly relevant innovation. I want to see how this thing moves forward.
Bahalang araw, mabibigyan natin sila lahat ng tablets, pero sa ngayon, dapat simulan natin. Ito pinaka-perfect na simula itong proyekto na Smart nito.
Pag ganito na po yung workbook namin, hindi na po ako mabibigatan.
Fulfilling Smart's mission to make every kind of text light and easy for all.
Yes. The second influencer I want to introduce is Bill Gates. As you know well, Bill Gates has been actively working to solve the problems the world is facing. In the year of 2012, Bill Gates teamed up with Ken Ryans to launch a project called Kankaimera. It is an open platform to public offerings of ideas to save the world. And then 14 judges and mentors commissioned by Ken Ryans screened the whole ideas and conducted a workshop of incubating the selected ideas into effective solutions that actually work. This case clearly demonstrates the importance of collective impact. I had the honor of being invited as a jury at the time, and I experienced how the power of collective intelligence can move the world. Even now, you know, Bill Gates is making contribution to develop creative solutions with other experts like engineers and social entrepreneurs, as well as creators. The third influencer is United Nations. At the seminar of 2016, Ken Ryans, former President Ban Ki-moon appeared and gave a surprise keynote speech. It was surprising because Ban Ki-moon showed himself at the event of creators, marketers, and entertainers. However, this meeting was held with the chairman of 6 big holding companies, which have global competitive advertising agencies. For example, there was also Martin Sorer, chairman of the WPP Group. At the meeting, President Ban Ki-moon called for help in developing solutions to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It is hard to imagine these groups sitting together at one place at the same time. So I don't think it would have happened without the cause of protecting the humanity and the earth. After this commitment, the Ken Ryans and Yonsei launched SDGs itself as a new category. It is my honor of judging the SDG fences again of Yonsei, thanks to the invitation of today's first panel, the Kevin. So Kevin will share in details how the Yonsei and United Nations launched the category together. Now let's look at 2 best examples of sustainable solutions that won the Grand Prix at Yonsei and Ken Ryans at the same time. The first case is the title is The Lion's Share. This is a fundraising project to protect extinct animals. Let's see.
Animals are a fundamental part of our world, our culture, our society, and our language, even our filmmaking and marketing. In fact, images of animals appear in approximately 20% of all advertisements that we see. Yet, despite this, animals do not always receive the support that they deserve, until now. Introducing The Lion's Share, an initiative that encourages brands and organizations using images of animals in their marketing to donate 0.5% of their media spend to the Lion's Share Trust. Backed by the United Nations Development Programme, the money will then be dispersed across the world to save species from extinction, preserve wildlife habitats, and look after animal welfare.
Called Lion's Share.
Very, very simple, brilliant idea.
I think that if we all do this together, then we can have this positive impact. Amazing.
In 2015, the world adopted a new global development agenda with an ambitious set of 17 sustainable development goals. Now, through the Lion's Share, advertisers have a real opportunity to act and deliver on these sustainable development goals by making a small change in the way they recognize animals in their advertisements.
Yes. This is a great project because this utilizes the principle of returning as much as you have gained from a totally new perspective. The second example I want to introduce is a black supermarket. This is a solution to win the right to eat various crops in European countries.
These seeds can grow healthier and tastier varieties of cereals, fruits and vegetables, but they are illegal, as are 97% of varieties. Why? Because in Europe and almost all over the world, the official catalogue of authorized species dictates which seeds are eligible for sale and cultivation. This is the law, and any infringement is sanctioned by heavy fines. Oddly enough, almost all the authorized species belong to the agrochemical industry, hybrid and pesticide-resistant seeds developed in laboratories. A lucrative deal for them, a disaster for taste and biodiversity. To change the law, Carrefour, the French food retailer and leader in Europe, has decided to defy the law. Carrefour presents the Black Supermarket. Illegal black markets in our supermarkets to make consumers discover these illegal varieties and sell the illegal products grown from the illegal seeds, facing legal penalties. We created a campaign to show the absurdity of the law, recruiting farmers all over France to join the protest movement. Then we signed a 5-year commitment with them, creating a real sustainable network. Our petition to change the law received over 85,000 signatures. There was almost no media in France that did not speak about the black supermarket.
Le fruit défendu dans un supermarché, Carrefour
se lance dans un marché interdit.
Even Carrefour's worst detractors were amazed that a big bad retailer would break the law for a good cause.
C'est un événement majeur. C'est un message politique très fort.
And finally, after 8 months of intense legal battle, in April 2018, a new law was voted, allowing farmers to grow their seeds free. After 40 years of prohibition, a big win for farmers, consumers, and biodiversity.
So the commercial market Carrefour opened the temporary market and they sell illegal crops. So I mean, that's the literally illegal activity. But from this brave, the courageous challenges, they can revise the old laws. So let me try to organize everything I mentioned so far. The first of all, the goal is CSS, that is creating a sustainable society, and then CSR will be our mission to ensure that companies and citizens take responsibility for doing the right things. I think the C of existing CSR should represent consumers as well. Finally, the CSS, that is creating social values, will be the result. And the creative people will continue to come up with creative solutions with this structure in mind. And also they push hard the capitalists to use their profit in a more proper way and valuable way. Thank you. And this is all I have to share today. And now let's take time to share the valuable experience and informations of panels we invited. Hi, Kevin. Can you hear me?
We have a lot of snow on the ground, but I'm happy to be here in person with you guys.
Anyway, appreciate again join our session in late night in your local time. So are you okay?
I'm great. I'm fantastic, man. It's just wonderful to be part of this organization and to see you guys across the globe.
Yeah, I'm sure you are the right person to show yourself in this kind of the forum. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. The first question is, I really respect your approach to support creativity, and especially you have to use your energy to raise the young guns, the future of our creativity. So based on this notion, would you introduce yourself and One Club for Creativity?
Fantastic. I'm happy to do so. So firstly, the One Club is a non-profit organization. So we are very, very focused on giving back to the industry. Our mission is to support and celebrate the global creative community. And in doing so, our biggest part of the organization is the One Show, and our award is called the Pencil. So what we do is we host a big award show in New York each year, and this award is arguably the most respected and desired creative award for the advertising industry.
Yes, yes. So the second question is, when do you think One Show was more concerning about the topic, the sustainability? Is there any special motivation driving you toward the matter?
You know, it's funny, Thomas, because we started seeing a trend about 4 or 5 years ago when agencies and brands were starting to focus on purpose. A lot of people were upset and were saying, well, you know, it's easy to do work around purpose, but you've got to be able to sell the commercial goods. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of these people were missing a point. Brands and agencies started listening to consumers and their staff. And over the past few years, we've seen a lot of attention's been paid to it. And if they don't, customers will simply go and buy from a different brand, or your staff will end up leaving and go and work for a company that more reflects the values that they own and hold dear. So I think this has been driven, especially over the last couple of years, by a much younger generation who has become increasingly more vocal on sustainability and equity. And as an industry, we really need to create work that brings about change in behavior, law, and policy. They need to be actionable pieces of work that bring about change.
Yes, really meaningful insight. So these days, especially MG generation, you know, yeah, they support the sustainability and sustainable brand. Yeah, that's the exactly. These days the trend. And also, I think that's why you open a new category of health and wellness too, right?
Exactly, yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, why do you think creative people actively join the task of making a world a better place and equal place to live? What is the great solution of your own choice this decade? I mean, in other words, what is your Grand Prix?
Well, thanks for asking me that, because I've taken the liberty of doing more than just one. And to give you a bit of a backstory, you know, in about 2018, there were two pieces of work that really got me thinking. I had a look at this incredibly creative work by the agencies and the creative teams, and noticed that we need to create something that really holds up work high, so the other industry leaders can look at it and say, we need to try and achieve that. And we need to show and let other agencies focus on just how good work can be if you really put sort of passion and sustainability before profit. And the first piece that really got me thinking about this was a campaign that was done to curb the ecological damage caused by really booming tourist numbers. A bold new entry visa process was announced for the Western Pacific country, Palau, and all visitors who arrived now had received the stamp in their passports, and they had to physically make the act of signing this pledge in front of an officer. And this mandatory agreement was dedicated to the children of Palau and is a promise act that those going to Palau and tourists and to enjoy the country will do so in a responsible way and not harm the island. And the thing that I really love about this campaign is some of the points that I'm going to touch on a little later is that it is scalable by other countries. So he has a great idea that this team came up with, but then it's now scalable across different countries. So perhaps let's have a look at that.
Human impact on Earth's environment. The world today. The small island nation of Palau in the Pacific Ocean was feeling these impacts acutely. Tourists were damaging reefs, littering oceans and poaching protected species, their careless behaviour magnified by large numbers. But how could a small local population with limited resources police the high volume of visitors? What if we made the tourists police themselves? Introducing the Palau Pledge, a first-of-its-kind immigration policy for good. All visitors now need to sign an environmental pledge to gain admittance into Palau. Stamped into the passport of international arrivals, the pledge is a formal promise to Palau's children.
Children of Palau,
I take this pledge
to preserve and protect your beautiful and unique island home.
To implement this policy, government, the tourist industry and citizens were brought together. A new visa entry stamp was designed and issued in multiple languages, and immigration processes were changed.
The joy that comes with the pledge is the recognition that, hey, I can make a difference.
But we didn't stop at the passport stamp. We redesigned the tourism experience, ensuring tourists and locals were empowered via a website, a compulsory in-flight film, a passport insert, collateral, and signage and penalties for bad behaviour. Launched at the UN, the Palau Pledge has been praised by international leaders and groups. Influencers helped inspire people to take the pledge online in solidarity with Palau. The Palau Pledge has raised global awareness of the responsibility this generation has to the next. But its biggest impact is local, in Palau.
I hope my children can see the beautiful place one day as I see today.
Yes, Kevin. Actually, I've been there twice in year of 2018 for the same purpose, to develop creative solutions for the environment. What a coincidence.
It is amazing. And honestly, you know, if you got that stamp in your passport, yes, you'd be a better citizen, you'd behave better to the environment and that beautiful place. You know, the second piece that got me thinking about this was another piece that actually changed policy, and this was called the trash aisles. You know, there's a saying that out of sight is out of mind, and this could not be more applicable. with the issue that we have here. So we need to find a way for people to engage with the problem that sits, this big ocean, there's this big mound of plastic that's sitting out in the middle of the ocean. And how can you make policy changes? And the way that they did it was by turning this big trash patch into an official country, that they not only achieved this by allowing people to understand the scale of the problem, but the thing I really love about this is it changed policy and behavior while raising
In the Pacific Ocean, there is so much plastic, an area the size of France has formed. Governments have simply ignored it. So we found a way to ensure they couldn't, by turning the country-sized trash patch into an official country.
Les trash isles.
Pour trash isles.
À la isla de plástico.
Des îles poubelles
Introducing the Trash Isles. On World Oceans Day, the Plastic Oceans Foundation and LADBIBE submitted an application to the United Nations to recognise the Trash Isles as an official country, because under the laws of the UN, other countries are then obliged to clean it up.
Declared the part of the ocean where all the trash is gathered, the plastic, the trash isles. Has the petition been received, and what's your take on it?
I think it's a very innovative and creative way to bring attention to a problem that is often not seen.
Having met the criteria to become a country, the Trash Isles began recruiting citizens online. In the first few weeks, we had more citizens than some countries. The Trash Isles had everything an official country needs: a currency called debris, a passport for new citizens, and a national flag. We even had big-name celebrities signing up.
I think this is the first honorary citizenship I've had from any emerging nation.
Thank you very much.
Trash Isles citizenship.
Trash Isles. Trash Isles.
Some even took on official roles.
I'm Judi Dench, the Trash Isles Queen.
I will be the best secretary of your defense that I can.
With over 200,000 citizens, 50 million video views, and 500 million people reached, the Trash Isles put the plastic problem firmly on the map.
I will make reference to the Trash Isles from here on out.
Yes, a really clever idea to build a virtual nation in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And so the last one I'd like to show is an incredible creative idea from 2020 that I believe will make an incredible difference when this becomes widely available. About 60% of a person's carbon footprint is from consumption, and changing consumer behavior can be a significant way to reduce CO2 emissions. Do Black is a radical new tool to fight against climate change. It's the first card with a CO2 emission limit, which means that it will stop you from overspending, not based on the number of dollars you have in your bank account, but by the impact your consumption is causing. And what I love about this is it's a strategic partnership that's based on change of behavior. You can play Do Black.
In 2018, the United Nations released an urgent report emphasizing the need to cut carbon emissions in half by 2030 in order to avoid an irreversible climate crisis. The average consumer in Sweden causes around 10 tons of carbon emissions each year, of which 60% is linked to consumption. This spring, the economy took its fight against climate change one step further by adding a premium credit card to its offer. But instead of introducing a premium credit card with the typical benefits that encourages further mass consumption, the economy did the opposite by launching Do Black, the world's first credit card with a carbon limit. Simply put, it's the first credit card ever to stop you from overspending. Not based on your available funds, but rather on the levels of CO2 emissions caused by your consumption. Do Black helps you track your climate impact and ensures that you reduce it by 50% in line with the UN 2030 recommendation. core purpose of Do Black is not only the ability to measure the impact of your consumption, but also bringing it to a direct halt, making it a radical tool against climate change. For years, credit cards have put a limit on our credit. Do Black puts a limit on our impact. The launch generated thousands of registrations and global media coverage, but more importantly, triggered the conversation around the impact of consumption. The introduction of Do Black was a wake-up call to commercial and financial industries alike, and generated an overwhelming interest and willingness to enter an era of greater responsibility. It would seem that putting a carbon impact limit on consumption isn't such a radical concept after all.
How brilliant is that?
Yeah, it's brilliant. So is there anything you explain more?
Well, on that there, it was pretty funny because when the judges started looking at that, almost half the jury had gone online and tried to sign up for the card. It wasn't available in the US at the time. But I really see that that's going to be a game changer. And it just shows you how brilliant creative minds can really come up with some out-of-the-box thinking to solutions that most people could never even dream of coming up with.
Yes, yes. So now, can you share the behind story on how Yonsei launched the new category of SDP, collaborate with United Nations in 2020?
Great, yeah, thank you. And, as an organization, our biggest mission is, how do we put people and purpose before profit, which is really important to us. And when we talk about our people, we talk about the global creative community and our staff. We all deeply care about sustainability. And we hear this often from people. And this is the reason why we had a conversation with the UN. And we said, look, we have the ability to mobilize thousands of creatives. And if we can just plant a seed in their mind that when you're next thinking about a campaign for a brand or looking at a brief, how can you take the SDG goals into account and maybe you go back to your client with something they didn't even ask for, but that checks one of the SDG goals and put that forward to them, because we honestly believe that brands, if their heart is in the right place and they care about their consumer, that they will start adopting really powerful forms of communication that will appeal to people who are very sensitive to sustainability and climate change.
Yes, I really hope to witness the brave and brilliant solution this year too, like last year. Yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So can you tell us the differences between SDP and other categories? Like, is there any unique consideration set for judge or jury session selection kind of things?
Thomas, I think the biggest thing here is that, it's easy to give an award away, but an award like the Sustainable Development Pencil, the Pencil's our award, we set some pretty harsh criteria, and it has to prove sustainability and measurable impact over time, because it can't just be a little one-off. We're wanting to hopefully award work that actually makes an impact and that is measurable over time. And that's why I chose some of these here, because the other point is it has to be scalable. How can we take something, a good idea, even like the Palau Pledge, and make something like that scalable for the Maldives or the Seychelles or Mauritius or other beautiful islands? So, is it scalable? Can you have sustained, measurable impact over time? And another one is changing of behavior. Just raising an awareness is one thing, but can you change laws? Can you change policies? Can you change behavior? While raising awareness as well, And I think the other thing which we really wrote into our manifesto when judging this work is look for strategic partnerships. You can't do this alone. This is why we partnered with the UN. We've partnered with big agencies and networks, because we really believe that partnerships will actually help either bring resources, bring funds, or bring people with ideas to make change.
Yes, I think the important standard for STB category, I think, is it practical or is it executionable kind of thing? It can have the great result, the good influence on society kind of things. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my last question is, what is your future vision on or a plan about the topic sustainability as an organizer of the platform of creative solutions for sustainability?
Well, my honest goal here is to really push hard and try and create a groundswell, because what we've seen is we know that agencies and brands care about awards, that they care to be seen, they care to get the publicity. But if we can put that passion and that care along with goals that align with their brand, I think that we can really create something which is much bigger than just an award, but a groundswell that'll help people to want to go out there and help solve some of these really big, important problems that this whole planet and that we are faced with. And I think that through brands and creatives coming together, we'll be able to achieve that.
Okay, I really appreciate again for you join this session. And friend, stay safe and cheerful.
I will do. And I hope I didn't have too much coffee before I started.
Okay.
Thanks, Thomas.
Okay, see you online.
Yeah, ciao.
Okay. Thank you. So, next panel is Merle Jamie. Hi, Merle.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Morning.
Yeah, how have you been?
I'm okay.
Yeah, you are looking good as usual.
Thank you.
So, recently I got your information. So you have a quite long job title. I cannot remember from my short storage of memory. So what happened to you recently? Would you introduce yourself?
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Merle Jaime, or Jamie. I am the global president of Densu Magarbawan. Okay, and I'm also the chair mom. I hold that position for so long now. Chair mom for Densu Jaime Saifu and Densu One Manila. So all the Densu creatives in my country, plus a global role today. Plus, I have the role of Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer in APAC. So I do wear a lot of hats nowadays while staying at home.
How many hats do you wear?
Like four already. So yeah.
And also you are the super mom.
Yeah, but I don't cook, so that's the only thing I can't provide.
Okay. So I love the project. I introduced as before the smart communication project as kind of, I can say, milestone in creative solutions for the quality education. So could you explain why and how you developed this kind of idea?
Okay, so client's brief then for SMART was to show an ad, a print ad, how they help children in schools. But as creatives, we look beyond that, beyond just saying, announcing SMART helps schools. Maybe we could really push SMART into doing something very active that truly helps children. And then we got into some data that says public school kids in the provinces of the Philippines would carry 24 books in their backpacks. And they walk so far. Sometimes they walk through the mountains. Some of them would tread rivers to get to school. Can you imagine them carrying 24 books? And they're tiny kids, really tiny kids. So we thought, so that's a problem. How can we come up with solutions? Mm-hmm. And then in the office, we have a lot of, these SIM cards, used SIM cards. And it's going to waste because it's already used. So we call it surplus SIM cards. So we thought, if we do have a lot of surplus in the office, I'm sure SMART has hundreds of that in their office. So we asked Mark, do you have surplus SIM cards? So simply, some of our tech people said this SIM card can still be used and programmed to put content. That's what we thought of. Why don't we input textbooks into these SIM cards? And you know, in the provinces, they still have these old phones. Most of them, 80% during that time, were still having old phones. It's a challenge now. Most people now in the Philippines, however, your eco class would have smartphones already. Yeah. So we're now trying our best to come up with a different way of doing content. But during then, we were able to program these textbooks into SIM cards, and that's why we came up with the smart textbooks. And that was true solutions to a problem, rather than a print.
Yes, it's a quite practical solution. Yeah. At the time, I really touched about your ideas.
Yes.
So next question is, would you like to introduce a couple of more other examples for sustainability that meant a lot to you?
Yes, I have two. After we launched this, of course, the following year, we were hit with a really bad typhoon. In context, the Philippines is hit by around 25 typhoons every year. And this is a story how we made the idea sustainable towards the following year. Let's just play the video.
The Philippines is hit with at least 25 typhoons per year, leaving a wake of destruction worth billions, and leaving millions homeless, hungry, and afraid. Packed into evacuation centers, sometimes for years at a time. The typhoon continues its damage long after it has passed. This time, on the emotional state of its victims, the most vulnerable of whom are kids. Isolated in often inaccessible places, they faced the harshest of realities. It was time to reconnect them to fairy tales, fantasies, and happy endings. Introducing Smart Storybooks. 12 of the happiest children's stories, each packed into a single SIM card, making deployment in typhoon-ravaged areas light and easy. We made use of Smart's award-winning low-tech innovation, where school texts are encoded into the inboxes of old SIM cards, thus turning old analog phones into e-readers. This time, by partnering with some of the country's best-selling children's book authors, we were able to give kids access to stories of hope on the only device these families had left.
Kahit papano, nakalimutan namin yung nangyari sa amin sa Bagyong Yolanda dahil sa storybooks.
Surrounded by tales of grief and loss, one typhoon after the other. Smart Storybooks, reconnecting Filipino kids to stories of hope.
It's a kind of second version of smart communication, right?
Yes, yes. So in my next example, so that shows you that sometimes even ideas can be sustainable, that you can still pull it and make it work even for a different problem or to solve. The next one is not exactly an idea of sustainability per se for a brand, but it is showing how brands should be responsible and be sustainable for the oceans. We are in the number 3 countries of single-use plastics, and we do hurt our oceans. We do harm our oceans all the time because of this. And what we did was we wanted to remind our clients to be responsible with the plastics that they use for packaging. And with this, we partnered with Greenpeace because we really thought we have to shock the nation. And during that time, there was an agenda on an ASEAN important meetings where all the leaders gathered together in the Philippines, and we wanted to hog the headlines of the newspapers and the news. But every single newscaster was in the palace to cover all the important people arriving. So how can we divert that kind of attention and bring the conversation to what is more important, and bring that conversation in the palace when all the ASEAN leaders are meeting? And we did all of that with this piece of work, and we call it the dead whale, which was inspired by the dead whales that were coming out in our oceans, in our shores. So it was a big surprise one morning.
Yes.
Years, sightings of different sea creatures washing ashore in the Philippines were being ignored. The last one was a sperm whale with its stomach full of plastics, yet it was still ignored. Until one fateful day. A 73-foot decomposing blue whale was found on the shores of one of the most polluted cities in the country. It changed how people looked at the issue. The closer people looked, they realized that it was entirely made of plastics.
We are going live here dahil may napaka-interesting
На Филиппинах з пластикових відходів
uстановили на филипинском plastic бывает escultura de una ballena muerta. Mojang of Philippines. Ang problema ng plastic.
The dead whale was Greenpeace Philippines' message to the 2017 ASEAN leaders to take concrete measures against the worsening case of plastic pollution.
Ang Philippines globally ranks number 3 sa pinakamaraming basura na tinatapon pumupunta sa ating karagatan.
The story was picked up by local and international media outfits. And in less than 24 hours, it shocked the entire world, reaching the shores of over 100 countries.
Plastique, vous le voyez, vous y croyez peut-être? Non, vous n'y croyez pas. En tout cas, des millions d'internautes y ont cru. Elisabeth, ils ont cru que c'était une vraie.
It even inspired other whale impressions. Most importantly, the issue was included in a proposal for the next ASEAN Leaders Summit, just one day after the launch.
This is not a wake-up call anymore. It is an urgent call to action.
The dead whale may be fake, but the message is real.
Yes.
You know, Thomas, when I was in AdStars a few years ago, the organizers want us to create that whale on the Busan beach.
Yes.
I said, you don't have enough plastics. You don't have. We need garbage plastics, real time. It's not an installation that we can fake. So,
Yeah, so
those, yeah.
Why don't you make it on the spot in Busan Haeundae? So
Yeah,
I really miss you. Probably next year I can see you in Busan again.
Oh, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I love this.
And I was just told the Tamburi Award show. So you and I, the judge in the same category, humanity and culture something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my honor
Great.
to judge with you again.
Great.
Okay, is there the example you want to introduce?
No, I think for that one, I think I was just saying that it may not be a specific idea for a brand, but it is also as powerful if you create a message for brands.
Okay.
That dead whale created suddenly Unilever's, my client then, Unilever's packaging, they started coming up with booths where you can refill. Rather than they create more plastic bottles. You now bring your bottles and refilling stations. So they become now very more responsible. So that makes me feel okay because you're solving not just one brand's problem, but everybody's problem.
Okay. So I was told you are also doing something for a good cause as the chair for Diversity and Inclusion Council in APAC. I know you are super busy, but I wonder, how do you manage these difficult tasks? And can you share some lesson learned from these extra activities?
Yes. When I was made into the chief diversity and inclusion officer, that was very close to my heart because as an Asian and as a woman, I faced many challenges in the world. And funny that I'm in a global role. I'm really experiencing this. You know very well, Thomas, when we get into a jury room, sometimes it's very hard to vocalize what you want to say. We do have a different way of saying things as Asians. So how do you be very vocal in a room? How can your ideas come across? It's a very big challenge for all of us. So being a woman and Asian, I put together #SisterGood. It is a movement where we support each other. Like in the first year, we came up with an insight that sometimes we women are the one putting ourselves down, that we can't make it out there and be empowered and be a leader. So we encourage each other. On a second year, we embrace our imperfections. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay that you don't speak good English. It's okay. So that's the second year. On the third year, last year, we noticed that we message each other, like in your country, I think you use Line. In our country, we use Viber. So in every single message we should, for example, I'm following up an email, I'd rather put our gifts to women is literally a gift, which is a moving pictures of each and every Indenso employee, woman, pushing you over, like, you can do it, or work it, girl, whatever. So it's almost like a community of women cheering each other on. So that's what I'm doing for women. And I have some new ideas this year, given that women are burdened working from home. You know, some women are also taking care of their children and their education in home classes. But at the same time, you're doing Zoom calls, you're doing client calls. So the double jobs of women is what I want to confront this year. Also, part of the APAC role is gender identity. So we did have some ideas on gender identities because I listened to all my friends. You know, Thomas, what they told me is that when you have a gay friend, you ask a gay friend, when did you come out? What was that special day when you suddenly embraced that you were proud and out?
Okay.
And they cannot remember. You cannot remember the day. And I say, why? If that is your sort of like your new birthday, why can't you remember? And they say, maybe because I was ashamed, maybe because I was afraid, maybe because I'm not going to be accepted during that time, so I didn't remember. So what we created,
that's the second first day. Wow, really great.
Yes. So we created cakes and all of that. Maybe we could just watch the video for this.
Fantastic.
There.
The last question is, what is driving you doing this kind of social good acts? Is it a calling, or were you born as a good person?
Thomas, when we would drink beer or wine together, you know, I don't know if I told you that in my past, when I was a very young girl, I entered a convent. Okay, so that's probably it. But you know, I was kicked out of that convent, so I'm not sure if I'm good. So maybe as a creative mind. Okay, my dog is noisy.
That's okay.
Maybe as a creative.
Your dog is
Okay,
now.
Hang on.
It's totally okay.
Okay, so maybe as a creative mind, it is our purpose to wake up one morning to think of solutions as a purpose. And that keeps us going. So maybe that's the reason why we think of these things, to push and change the world.
Okay, Merle, a couple of days ago, I saw lovely news in your timeline Facebook. You were appointed to a jury president of some category in Ken Ryan's. What's that? What category?
It's audio and radio. I'm pretty excited because in a lockdown world, we did a lot of audio to console each other, right? So I'm excited to see those ideas.
Yeah, yeah. So really congratulations about that. I want to send my big hug to you. Thank you, Merle. So hope to see you again face to face. Okay, stay safe. Bye. The last panel, Safan Qadir, is just sat beside me. Hello, Safan.
Hello, Thomas.
Hi. I cannot see him. Okay, okay.
Yes.
It's nice, the Tusha.
Yes.
Okay.
See
So,
yourselves.
I was and am still curious about your background.
Yes.
You're born and raised in Pakistan and studied your undergraduate and graduate school studies in UK. So those kind of background influence on your kind of activities, especially to come up with an idea for sustainability. Am I right?
Absolutely. So I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Safan Qadir, and I am from Pakistan. Now these days I'm working at Paulus, where I have the privilege of working both in the media development and empowerment sector, as well as doing video work and contributing and participating in advertising, in generating advertising campaigns. So the way I ended up here in Korea working at Paulus is the person who would go on to found the company was my class fellow in graduate school, and he became a close friend. A couple of years after graduating, he rang me up. He said, hey, so I'm going to start a company, and my vision is that we're going to do media development and empowerment as well as video work, the two things that we were both interested in. And he said, what do you think? And I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm going to join you. So that's how I ended up here. Yeah.
So that's all?
So the fact is that growing up in Pakistan gave me a certain kind of perspective on development. It is generally a very poor country, okay? And the privilege that I had of studying in London and studying media development and communication gave me certain ideas about the way in which the global north has kind of monopolized the discourse of development. So what normally happens is that some expert from outside comes into a community and decides for the people with minimal research what they need to do, right? So the thing about the role of media in this whole domain is that media has been used as a tool only for other types of development. So for example, an expert comes in into a community, they tell you, so you are going to be given some information about antenatal care, and they expect a response, right? They expect behavior change. So media itself has not been the end itself of development projects. And that was really the key thing that Kyung-shin, who is the founder of Paulus, and I decided that we would like to pursue, to make media literacy the end itself. So yeah, that's how we began in this domain.
Yeah. So you have a great example, Dandura Heroes, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to talk about the project. It's about the media collective in Nairobi.
Yes.
So how do you trace the through line from the academic discourse around empowerment, media, and development that you encountered in the university in UK to your experience in the field dealing with some of the same issues?
So just to give some kind of background to this, the basic point is that the logic of media being used as a tool in development is that it does not quite understand development discourse, and development practitioners have often been unable to understand the frictions that are keeping people from adopting the behavior that is obviously good for them. Good hygiene is good for people, and good antenatal care is of course good for people. But there are frictions that have to do with the specific location, specific environment, and the population and other cultural factors and gender factors that play a role in stopping people from achieving those results. So what we thought is that if we empower people to be able to tell their own stories, their own narratives, they will be in a position to participate in the global narrative around development, to tell people what they actually want, what they actually need, right? So our goal was to create a framework. And so that was the underlying hope and the abiding hope of the Dandora project that is still ongoing. It's still a project that we're continuing year after year in Kenya, is that we would like to create the framework and the basis for people to prosper, right?
Okay.
By telling their own stories. So I would like to show my first slide of the day. Sorry. Yes. So just a context of the area. The first time we went to Kenya was in 2017. And the participants are students of a school called Samlis. Samlis is a school that is located in a very large slum near Nairobi. The slum, of course, other than having poor access to basic facilities like water and sanitation, it is also home to one of the largest dumping sites in the country. So it spews toxic waste and so on and so forth. So this was a 2-week-long exploratory project where we just wanted to understand what this scenario is and the situation is, right? And the students that I encountered there, they did not have any media literacy as such. They could not use computers. They had not been on the internet. So we thought that the closest media device that the students have access to is a cell phone. So we chose mobile smartphones to become the tool for creating content. So during this 2-week-long workshop, we trained students in cinematography, storytelling with examples, and editing as well on the cell phones. And we were able to produce 3 short films, right? The students were able to produce these three short films. And so, for example, one of these short films was about bullying, which ended with a rap song.
Okay.
Another was about a student winning a singing competition against all odds. So what you could sense, the key lesson of this workshop, the first one, was that the participants had this hunger to tell stories, but they had not been given the opportunity yet.
They have a strong will to express themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So from your project, I realized the media literacy is another critical factor to raise public awareness of sustainability, and also can be a driving force to change the environment, especially under developed countries. Okay.
Yes. So the way I characterize, or the way we at Paulus characterize this, is that because with the advent of smartphones, social media, and digital platforms, we have now a situation where if you empower people to be able to create their own content. They can become their own broadcasters, their own brand, and they have then the ability to project their own narratives out into the world.
Okay.
Right? So that is why one of the key goals of the Dandora Heroes project was to allow the participants to become influencers themselves, right? So I would just like to briefly talk about the 2018 intervention, which was the second intervention that we did. If we could look at the slides again. Yes, thank you. So after the first year, we went into the second year with a lot of enthusiasm and more resources, right? We rented a church near the school where it was a large, safe space, and we provided students with a 3-month-long training course, and then 3 months after that to produce a web series. The web series was about raising awareness for HIV/AIDS, right?
Okay.
But the interesting thing about this is that the students themselves decided to tell a story, a sci-fi story, where they raised awareness about the misconceptions around HIV/AIDS. So they did not go down the normal PSA route, right? So as a result, we were able to have this web series broadcast on Kenyan National Television. It was also screened at Udada Film Festival for Women because the director and the star were both girls. And we were also able to put this on YouTube, right?
Okay.
But we felt that there was still something that we could do more in order to make the whole thing sustainable, which I will get on to later. But yes, that's the second intervention that we were part of.
Okay, so great. So I think you already build up the platform, so you can apply to another region of African countries. Do you have any plan about that?
So our goal is to use the Dandora Heroes project as a benchmark and a template where if you see success, as we have seen, and I will get to it later, as we have seen in this project, we can, given the understanding of other contexts, I don't want to say that we will copy paste or we could copy paste something like this to another country because it has different conditions. And that is actually one of the reasons why we are in this panel, we're talking about how creativity requires understanding the basic parameters of any given situation. So of course, this kind of thing is scalable and this is applicable to other contexts as well under certain considerations.
Okay.
So I just want to now go on to the 2019 intervention, which is really when this project became sustainable. Could be, yes, exactly. So we realized that we were not asking the right questions fully because we had been working in this, we had worked in this environment for 2 years. We had done 2 projects, but we were not going far enough. Why? Because we did not understand that sometimes there are frictions associated with the environment where people are unable to succeed because just living itself becomes a full-time job.
Okay.
Dealing with the consideration and changes in the environment. So for the first time in 2019, we pulled the 6 most enthusiastic graduates of the workshop from previous years into a new office outside the slums. They finally were able to get a job with the NGO that was supporting their school to create content about the NGO's projects.
Okay.
And this is how we were finally able to create a situation where these students can earn a living from the media literacy skills that they had acquired over the past couple of years.
Okay, okay. Do you have any episode for this project? Behind stories?
So one of the key things about this is that so you understand from this that partnerships are very important, right? So the first project that the team got was to produce content, to produce a video for another Korean startup that we had worked at Paulus with before. Dot Incorporated. They have a Braille device, and they work in accessibility technology. So they were the ones who were able to provide the first meaningful earning for our collective for the first time. So that's why partnerships become important in this case.
Okay. It's also good news. And the year after the Dandra Heroes project, you handle the hair salon, right?
Absolutely,
right
yes.
Pronunciation. It's kind of Korean startup.
Yes.
So immediately after I saw this project, I think this is quite good example of combine the technology and data mining together.
Yes.
So and recently I had a chance to work with you for a certain project. I found you have a genius talent of research.
Thank you.
And then data mining. So I think in a certain aspect, the genius talents, those kind of research and data mining, the influence on this project. Am I right?
I'm flattered. Thank you so much. But I will. It's a good segue to talk about this project. So if I could just show the slide for it. Basically, in 2014, Hilserian invented the world's first wireless mobile ultrasound device called Sonon, which allowed expectant mothers to undergo ultrasounds in their own homes. And this device was 100 times lighter and 10 times cheaper than available hospital-based ultrasound devices. And you could easily connect the mobile device, such as to tablets, and then that could be the data could be broadcast to anywhere in the world. And so the question is, why is this significant? It's significant because hundreds of women die in pregnancy-related and childbirth-related complications every day.
Really?
Yes. And 99% of them are from the global south. Okay? So we thought that, so a very famous paper called Too Far to Walk underlined the main considerations for why maternal mortality takes place. And the three considerations are distance, cost, and quality of care.
Okay.
So we thought that this device, the remarkable thing about this device is that it is able to solve, at least on paper, all three issues. It solves the issue of distance because you can get it at home. It solves the issue of cost because it's much cheaper. And quality is just as good as hospital-based devices. Even better because you can interact with people anywhere across the world, right? So why? But we found that the uptake of the device was very slow. So what we needed was a different solution, right? Because the initial cost was still too high. So this relates to my experience. Whenever I go back to Pakistan, I use vouchers to top up my cell phone. It's a common practice that is done in Pakistan and also in other subcontinental countries. So for Bangladesh, we found that it's also true. So the key insight for this project was understanding the buying patterns of the locals. We found that in many countries, these people purchase these vouchers from their local store or shop, and they're able to top up their devices. So what we thought, what if we were, Hilserian was able to provide Sonon free of cost upfront, and you could use a voucher to top up the device whenever you need to use it. So this was the thinking behind this particular project. So we were able to understand the context, to research the context, and realize that the buying patterns of the locals provided us with a unique opportunity to open this up and increase the uptake in developing countries.
It's a really great insight. So anyway, your project is based on the research human behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I think owing to COVID-19 breakout, those kind of remote medical treatment will be the mainstream. Okay. So what do you think about that?
So, of course, in 2019, when we conducted this project, we had no idea that the world was going to face this kind of issue. So, yes, absolutely, a device like that, which is able to broadcast its data across to a different country, to a different place, where people can, experts can take a look at the data and understand the situation, obviously, it works even better. And I just want to, at this point, bring back the media literacy project, because it also is connected with the pandemic story. Because in 2020, I was unable, for the first time in 4 years, to go back to Kenya. I really missed my students, but we had gotten a new project. The project was, so the Korean broadcaster SBS runs a program called Himang TV.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's called Hope TV. Basically, they raise funds for their development projects in Kenya and other countries in East Africa. They had conducted a couple of projects a few years earlier where they had gone, Korean celebrities had gone to certain locations, and they had met with kids and students they were supporting. So they needed to see how they were doing in the pandemic year. Those students and kids that the celebrities had visited a few years earlier. But they could not send their crew to Kenya to shoot. So because we realized that we already had a team in place that had the required video production skills to be able to pull off the job. So if I could just pull up the slide for 2020, you will see that I was, I'll just go back. You can see me as I just recently moved to my new place and I didn't have curtains.
Yeah, you look like a movie star.
Yeah. I was just conducting an online lecture, and my students were able to produce 7 different outputs over a period of 4 weeks. And they were able to understand not only, and bear in mind, these students had not used a computer 3 years ago. They had no idea about the internet. And at the end of this project, they had mastered the Google Suite. So they were using different programs from the Google Suite, as well as they were able to send all of these files over Google Drive so that Himang TV was able to use the footage and broadcast the content. So that is a success story, I feel, where students, not only are they able to earn money off the media literacy skills that they had learned, but they are also, if you go to their channel, it's called Reactive Film Production. They wanted to shed their Dandora name because they felt that now that they had moved out of the environment, they could be considered their own people and they could change their name. So you will see that they are producing TV, like web series, documented what it's like to live in a slum and all of that. So they're both earning money for themselves. They are showcasing projects that their NGO is doing, and they're telling their own stories. So it's a combination of all of these things, 3 things.
Okay, I think this project definitely raised their self-reliance, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So my last question is, can you share some kind of the lesson learned from your previous project? And I'm also curious about what is you interested in now And then, what is your plan in near future?
Okay, I will try to be brief about this. So basically, the reason in 2019 we were able to get our students out of the Dandora is because a few months earlier I had participated in the Bangladesh project. And the Bangladesh project, I had, of course, when you are working to develop a creative solution in the field of advertisement, it's a different mindset from when you're approaching a development project. And I think that's the key lesson that I learned. So anyone will tell you when you're trying to solve an issue, or you have to think about the specifics, you have to think about the unique parameters or the basis of any given situation to solve the problem. But the creative problem analyzing that you associate with the advertising approach allows you to understand these constraints and then assume that everything is up for questioning. Therefore, we were able to understand that once you are able to question everything, you can ask better questions. Right? And once you ask better questions, we realized that the better question was, why are our students even in Dandora at this moment? They should be taken out so that their whole horizon of opportunity and thinking can change. Right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing that I want to share is that what advertising approach brings to the field of development is the storytelling aspect.
Storytelling.
Because without stories about successful projects, technological interventions that have succeeded in making things sustainable, and smart use of resources, we cannot arrive at a global understanding of what's working.
I agree.
So that's why these are the two lessons I feel like where the first one is assume everything is up for questioning so you can ask better questions. And second, advertising helps us to understand how we can tell stories in a way that brings to light good thinking and good problem solving.
Yeah, from many questions comes the better answer. It should be applied to Korean education environment, I think. Okay, so what you are interested in now?
So my hope and my main interest for going forward is great design. And because I feel like great design in not only physical design for architecture and spaces, but also digital design, as well as good design of projects so that we can consume resources better, will allow us to create environmentally friendly and sustainable solutions which do not have the original trade-offs associated with sustainable consumption or sustainable production, right? So that good design will allow us to be able to solve questions in a way that we bring the entire framework at a higher level, at a more suitable, sustainable level. And the second thing that I'm interested in nowadays is how can we tell better stories which reduce the divisiveness that we are currently facing in the global political climate, so that we can tell more compelling narratives about ourselves, about what binds us together, so that we can address the challenges as a collective better, the huge challenges that we face today.
Okay, I can say with confidence like this, you are already a great designer, judging from the presentation deck you prepared.
Thank you so much.
So someday I really hope to develop a great idea for sustainability together.
Yes, that's my hope as well.
Okay. Thank you for joining and share your precious experience.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Okay. Thanks again, everybody. Kevin, Murray, and Stefan. Yeah, we miss you guys much, and we really hope to see you again in face to face. Till then, stay safe and stay cheerful. I really, really appreciate again for your join this session. Okay, thank you. See you again.
Thank you.